Good evening, this is News.PH, but it's not politics as usual. I'm Pia Hontiveros. Rape is no small matter. It is a crime. No, we will not discuss the latest scandal that has hostage the nation. We will talk about the crime of rape. Our guests, Major Elizabeth Hasmin, she's the Deputy Chief, Women and Children Protection Division of the PNP Criminal Investigation and Detection Group, and Attorney Richie Ramos-Pilares of the Puna & Puna law firm. She specializes in family law, correct?
Yes.
Good evening. Thank you very much for being with us tonight. Attorney Richie, tell us first, what is rape?
Rape is defined under the Republic Act A353 or the New Rape Act. Under the said Republic Act, there are two types of rape. The first type is the one committed by a man against a woman by having carnal knowledge of the woman under certain circumstances, like number one, if there's force, threat, and intimidation. Number two, if the offended party has been deprived of reason or
Deprived of reason meaning?
Was rendered unconscious.
Okay.
Number three, if it was done through fraudulent machinations or grave abuse of authority.
Fraudulent machinations meaning?
Like was
Niloloko.
defrauded, yes.
Yeah, okay.
And when
Grave
there's
abuse of authority meaning if you use a...
if the offender has moral ascendancy over the offended party.
Okay.
Like for example, like incestuous rapes, like the father raping the daughter or stepfathers or anyone having moral ascendancy over the victim.
Or authority figure or
Yes,
like a
authority
boss,
figure.
for example? Ganon.
Yes, yes.
Okay.
And then the and you can also commit rape when the victim is under 12 years of age or demented. That's the first type of rape, the one committed by man against a woman. And then the second type is what they call sexual assault. Here, it can be committed by both men and women. And then under sexual assault, you commit sexual assault when, like for the male, if he inserts his private part to the oral, in the mouth or the anal orifice, and if there's a use of an object and it's inserted to the private part and the anal orifice.
Okay. So merong man on woman and then
The
iba
first
pa yung
one.
sexual assault.
Yes.
So pwedeng by men or
Yes.
women.
But for sexual assault, the circumstances that I enumerated for the first type of rape should also be present for.
Okay. How complicated is that? Bakit ganun ang ginawa nilang definition? And why is it the new rape law?
Because in the previous law, only a man can commit rape against a woman by having carnal knowledge or sexual intercourse with a woman. But under the new rape or the 1997 or the Republic Act A353, even women can commit sexual assault against a man or another woman. For that matter.
Okay. I was about to ask you, so the grounds for accusing someone of rape, all you have to do is look at this law and see
Yes.
which one fits the bill.
Yes,
kumbaga.
existence of the elements.
Okay. Penalty.
The penalty for the paragraph, or the first type of rape, and the second type is reclusion perpetua. But if there are certain aggravating circumstances, like if there was attempt on the life, or
So rape and attempted murder.
yes,
Okay.
or if it
attempted
was
homicide.
done, yes,
Okay.
or if it was done with in certain circumstances, like it was done in front of the child of the victim, it becomes from reclusion perpetua to death.
Death.
Under
Okay.
the law.
All right. Death.
Yes, but
So
that's provided under the Act, but now it's suspended, the death penalty.
Okay. Well, we'll go back to that, no, that question about should we bring back the death penalty for rape, but we'll talk about that in a little while. Major Hasmin, what is the process to report a case of rape?
The process, of course, we need the complainant. The victim herself will go to our office or to any station which provided. Anyway, every station have a complaint against women and their children. We have their policewoman who entertain this kind of cases. Of course, we need to get the statement coming from the victim herself, and then the process is we will put it in blatter. So that is very essential in putting blatter the incidents. And then the next, we will go to the next procedure, which is the medical examination or the genital examination of the victim. And then right after that, of course, we will accompany her, and then we will proceed to the taking of her affidavit. And then she will state what happened to her about the rape case that she alleged.
Oh, yung Women and Children's Desk, and then you said very specifically a policewoman is the one who will entertain the complaint.
Yes,
Talagang
yeah.
kailangan policewoman, hindi
Opo.
pwedeng police. Eh, paano kung wala doon yung policewoman? Is that an issue? Or
Actually,
isn't there enough of gender sensitivity right now?
Yeah, the reason why we have gender sensitivity, our Chief PNP placed every police station a policewoman for those who are victimized by or for the victim of rape. So the reason why na meron tayong policewoman every police station para at least if may mga instances na dumarating ng cases for rape, ang handle is babaeng police din para at least yung feeling nila hindi naman sila magiging, alam mo yun, you are a rape victim, here comes ang mag-i-interview sa'yo is policeman. So can you say about what happened to you, about the incident that you were raped by? So it's very hard for the victim to say it so.
Okay. And then, of course, the medical examination.
Yeah.
You know, these are things we take for granted. Okay, medical examination. But just for the purpose of educating everybody, no, why is a medical examination very important?
Actually, it is very essential because, of course, kailangan to sa korte. We need it aside from, although the statement alone can stand in court, but of course, if the rape incident happened just, let's say, an hour, so it is necessary to submit or to give the medical legal examination to stand it in court. It will support the statement of the victim.
Okay. And then, of course, the affidavit, kanina sabi nyo,
Of course.
kahit walang medical legal report, pwedeng yung affidavit.
Actually, there
lang,
are
no?
some instances that a rape case happened 10 years ago. So
Meron
we can
ganon.
ask our lawyer here that the prescription period is, I think, 20 years for the rape case. You can file it, although it was happened long years.
Oo.
So, yeah.
Okay. But of course, an affidavit, yung affidavit, ang pagkuha ng affidavit, kumbaga parang it will depend on the interview, no? Yung pagsalaysay muna ng victim, right? How is that done exactly?
We will take it in a question and answer. So we ask the victim what happened to you. So who is the perpetrator, when it was happened. So that is the process of taking statement coming from the victim.
Okay. And then from there, and then may blotter din of.
Yeah,
from
we
there, what happens next?
We put it in record that somebody came to our office and reported the incident that happened to her. So if the victim identified the perpetrator, we also put it there in the blatter for the record purposes.
Okay. How common is rape?
Very common because we
Very
have here.
common.
Yeah, very common, especially for the young ladies. This is very common, especially nowadays because of the social networking, the internet. If you met someone in the internet and then you, kagaya po yung sinasabi natin sometimes na, okay, we met, eyeball. So, ang dami pong biktima ng rape na ang reason ay nakipagkita. For someone na na-meet lang niya over the net. So,
Talaga? Okay.
Yeah.
So out of 10 cases, for example, ilan doon yung dahil sa eyeball, nagkakilala dahil sa internet?
Hindi po ako makapagbigay
You don't
ng
have
exact,
Okay,
Hindi po
but
tayo
there's an
makaka-exact.
unusual rise in
Yeah,
that.
very,
Okay.
very common.
Okay. So it's common, and we're going to talk about statistics in a while, no? But is it so common that I was about to ask you both, no? Kaya lang I realized, of course, you would know someone who was raped because, for example,
Yes.
merong lalapit sa'yo, Major Hasmin, no? May magrereklamo. And then for you, Attorney Richie, you've handled a case before, no? But if you were not in your fields of work, like, your friends, for example, do they know someone who was raped? We're trying to get a feel of how common is rape. Attorney Richie.
Actually, yes.
Yes.
I know some women, even married women, who are raped by their husband. So, yes, that's
Okay.
possible.
And do they file cases? Or some of them choose not to?
most of them choose not to file.
Okay, we'll go into that in a little while.
Yeah, there are
Major
some, may mga instances po na meron tayong nare-receive. They just report it and then they never file the case. They just want to put it in record. There are some
Okay.
instances, there are some cases that brought to our office and then they just want to put it in record.
Okay,
Yeah.
when you say report, put it on record, yung lumapit sa inyo, like you say, may medical examination, merong affidavit, may blotter, tapos hanggang dun lang.
Yeah, kasi choice po yun ng complainant eh. Hindi naman po magpo-pursue yung case without the affidavit of the complainant herself.
So in other words, ang police, ang investigators cannot file a case against the suspect kung hindi papayag ang complainant.
Yeah, kasi po pagdating sa korte, siya naman po yung tatanungin ng court kung ano yung nangyari sa kanya. So, we cannot pursue the case. Just put it in record for the purpose of yun nga po, future reference. Yeah.
Okay. So there are women like that who choose to just have it on record, like you say, para lang it's on record for what?
Hindi po natin alam yung kanilang mga personal reason. Yun nga po siguro, baka pwedeng, yun nga po yung sinasabi natin, future reference. Maybe some instances, nangyari ulit sa kanya. So, same person. So, meron siyang pwedeng balikan na record sa aming police station.
Okay. Meron ganon, same person.
There are some instances po.
Ano yan? Married or
Yes,
civilly?
mostly.
Mostly yung mga married.
Vowsy, kagaya po ng na-mention ni Attorney Richie. Yeah. Married woman.
Okay. Kanina my question was how common is it? But I want to ask now about statistics, no? So for you sent us Major Hasmin yung figures for 2013, no? And you have their figures for rape, attempted rape, sexual assault. If you compare this to 2012 or the past years, tumataas ba ang bilang? You know, are there more rape cases now?
Actually, I have a record for 2013 only.
Okay.
So, and nakategorize po ito into 3 but in-account na lang po natin siya. Anyway, ang rape naman per se is rape talaga. So, kahit incest or ni-rape yung minor, so magpa-fall pa rin po siya sa rape. So, ang total po natin as of, yun nga po, from January 2013 to December 2013, we have a record of 6,432 victims of rape ang na-file po natin. Ito po yan.
6,400 plus
Medyo malaki.
na na-file.
Opo, cases
Okay.
filed po ito for the record. Nationwide na po ito.
Yeah, cases filed in court. Nationwide, ano yung pinakamalaking bilang in what region? Metro Manila?
Yeah, NCR po.
NCR. Why?
Hindi natin ma-establish yung reason. So we cannot establish the reason why
Yeah.
na mas malaki po yung yung bilang ng rape cases dito sa atin.
It's interesting you say 6,400 plus for 2013 na na-file na kaso.
Opo.
So kanina ang sabi mo, there are those no who decide not to file. I mean, can you give us an estimate? How many cases would that be kung nag-file lahat ng mga nagreklamo?
Hindi tayo makapagbigay ng exact figure, ma'am, kasi we will base only on the record that we are that we filed. So
Okay.
I cannot give you any figure with regards dun sa mga ganong cases na they just put it in record. They just-
Attorney Richie, should we be alarmed by figures like these? 6,400 plus cases for last year alone.
If based on her statement that there are many who report but only a few can file cases, then we should be alarmed because that's a lot, 6,000. That's different women, right?
Yes.
Okay. And merong mga like you said earlier, you know of women who decide not to file the case. These women that you know, they have gone as far as reporting it, parang lumalapit sa police, nagpa-blatter. Hindi rin.
Usually they don't
Hindi
report.
lumalapit at all. Walang blatter, walang na.
Actually, I'm surprised that there are women who
Yeah.
go to the police station to report without the intent of filing.
Filing.
Because sometimes, if you just want to suffer in silence, you don't really
You
go
don't
to
even-
don't even go to the police station to
Oo.
report it.
Or baka nag-iisip na sila na like you
Yeah,
said, no, major future reference or
Yes,
baka.
Yes.
Pero malungkot pa. Ang lungkot naman ng ganun.
Actually, mostly nga is yung related dun sa VAUSI, yung violence against women and their children. Because yun nga, ang mismong offender is yung talaga yung asawa nila or yung ka-live-in partner nila or yeah. So belong pa rin din sa VAUSI. Yan yung mostly na nagre-report ng cases na yan nga na rape sila allegedly.
Okay. Is it stigma? Are they, not just afraid? Well, not just afraid of retaliation, no, from the suspect. Is it stigma? Parang people will look badly at them. Attorney Richie.
Actually, sometimes I think there are women who won't file cases because when you go to court and you say you've been raped, some of the defense counsels will attack your personality. Like when
because that's the only defense,
yes,
right?
They will say that you're lying or that you're this kind of woman, so why will this person even rape you when you're a loose woman? So they're afraid that their character may be attacked if they file the case.
Okay. So a loose woman, why would this person attack you? So ito yung parang the myth na you asked for it. You asked for it, no? Na parang ikaw kasi, di ba? It's your fault the way you dress or what you do as your work. I mean, even prostitutes get raped, di ba?
Yes.
But
They can also file case
they can
of
also
rape.
file, but
yeah.
that does not justify the rape,
Yes.
right? Pero merong mga ganun, ano? So may mga myth na ganun na you asked for it. Tama?
Yes.
Sometimes, yeah.
Sometimes. So, I'm sure, Major, di ba, may lalapit na complainant. Minsan, i-question din ninyo yung suspect. Is that what happens?
What do you mean by questioning the suspect? Kasi there are some instances that we call that a hot pursuit operation. Let's say,
Okay.
may dumating na complainant sa aming office
Oo.
and then he lodged complaint and then sasabihin sa amin na yung perpetrator nandyan sa area. And then it was only committed an hour. Because we cannot say it as hot pursuit if you already changed your dress, you sleep, and then the following day you reported it. So we cannot act on that. But there are some instances, yun nga po yung sinasabi natin na hot pursuit operation. Kung it was just happened this very moment and then tumakbo ka na sa police, we can arrest the perpetrator
Yeah.
and then we can inquest him to put him in jail.
Yeah.
And then we will process yung filing ng case.
Oo. Meron bang mga perpetrator na kapag na-aresto, I mean, from your experience or from what you hear from other police units, na kapag inaresto, they say na, they say all those things na she asked for it or siya kasi or meron mga ganon?
May mga ganong instances, of course, kung ikaw naman yung gumawa nitong krimen, wala namang gagawa ng krimen na aaminin mo yung ginawa mo. Of
Wala
course,
pang umaamin sa rape, ano?
I-deny niya yan. But actually, we handle cases na arrested namin and then inadmit naman niya. Pero yun nga yung nire-reason out niya, ito yung ginusto niya, so ginawa namin. She is very much willing to do these things. But if someone filed a complaint, wala tayong magagawa. Nag-file siya ng complaint, so we need to file it in court.
Yung sinabi mo, that's interesting, no? Sometimes they use that excuse na ginusto niya, ginusto niya meaning she was welcoming my advances, parang ganon, or she invited me into her home. May mga ganon, ano? Parang siya yung nangumida, di ba? Siya yung is that a reason? Or is that like a myth or something, Attorney Richie?
Actually, there are Supreme Court cases wherein they said that they call that the sweetheart defense, like they have a relationship, but the Supreme Court held that just because you have a relationship, it doesn't give you the license to violate the woman or to commit rape. So there's that myth, but the Supreme Court has ruled on certain instances that
When did that ruling come out?
There's a 2009 case on
2009.
that, wherein they rejected that sweetheart defense.
Okay. So ever since 2009, ever since the Supreme Court,
there are many cases.
marami pa rin, yun pa rin ang
Yes.
ginagamit na dahilan. Well, so why do people keep using that excuse?
Because they
Because
think that if you're sweethearts, you have that. Because in rape, it has to be against the will of the victim.
Oo.
So if you're sweethearts, then the defense is that she consented to it or she agreed to it. Because if it's consensual, then it's not rape.
Okay. Pero di ba merong mga cases na, okay, so they consent or show or imply consent at first, and then midway through biglang ayaw, then that's rape pa rin.
Yes, that's the rape.
Tama, Major?
Yes, kung meron nga pong complaint, if there is a complaint, we will file ito nga yung charges na sinasabi. Pero kung wala naman kasing complaint, di ba? So, it's hard to establish na merong rape talaga.
Okay. So then it has to be consensual. If it's not consensual, then there's force.
Yes,
That
that's
amounts to rape already. Meron bang mga, kanina, attorney, you said, yung mga defense lawyers, they use the character assassination, to attack the character. Is there any other form of defense that you have seen in the last few years that has been interesting, to say the least?
Actually, they use the usual defense is alibi. They will say that they were not in that place or they could not have done that because they were somewhere else and doing something else. So.
Okay.
But that's a weak defense, alibi.
Alibi is a weak defense,
Yes.
and yet there is, for example, the Chong sisters, no, in Cebu, alibi yung defense ni Laraniaga, diba? The Webbs, the Visconde massacre, alibi also, and yet the Supreme Court overturned, hindi ba?
Because before alibi can be a good defense, you have to prove that it was impossible for you to have been there. But alibi is a weak defense if the victim made a positive identification of the accused or the offender. So
Okay, the victim made a positive identification.
Yes.
In this case, the victim is dead.
Oh, yeah,
Yung
that's wrong. I
Visconde.
mean, in other cases.
Oo.
But for the Visconde, I think those are the verdict depended on circumstantial evidence.
Circumstantial evidence, meaning the documentation from the U.S. government.
No,
Was that one?
the testimony of the witnesses. I think
okay.
that's the basis of the Visconde case.
Okay. What are the other myths about rape? Yung mga urban legends, mga myths. Kasi kanina pinag-usapan natin mga myths na, oh, she asked for it. Siya kasi, gusto niya sweetheart, yung mga ganon. Major, ano pa ba yung mga ginagamit na excuses?
Marami kasi. Sa amin kasi, based on my experience sa pag-iimbestiga ng mga ganyang cases, yun yung usual na thing na ginagamit talaga. Yun nga po yung sinasabi na kami, di ba? Mag-on kami. So, ginawa namin to. Both gusto namin. So far, yun lang naman din po yun kasi yung on my own experience, yan po yung nakukuha natin sa investigation process.
Pag yan ang nagiging defense nila, nagbabago ba ng isip yung girl?
There are some instances kasi we cannot we cannot force this girl na ano ba yung iba pa, ano pa. So kung ano lang po yung sinabi niya, we will base on the statement that she gave to us.
Okay. Yeah. Yes,
If
Attorney
I may
Ricky.
add,
Yes.
actually I read this Supreme Court case wherein the defendant was claiming that the complainant was just extorting or they want to be paid. Because sometimes, of course, if you file a case against someone so that the charge will go away, you can pay the victim. There are times that happen. So
because meron namang settlement, di ba?
yes,
Okay.
you can settle it out of court. You don't have to go through the case. So that's another defense that they use, that this family is just trying to extort from us. So,
And we've heard this over and over again. Di ba? This is nothing new. Maraming ganun
sometimes.
Extortion. Is that another defense na ginagamit? Naghahanap lang to ng pera.
Sometimes when I attended the court hearing, yan yung sinasabi ng ibang suspect na she asked money or but
Okay.
very minimal, very few. Yeah.
Okay. Are there support systems in place for rape victims, Major?
Kind of support system.
Parang wala. I mean, apart from the Women and Children's Desk ng PNP,
Support system of
like support groups, are there?
actually aside from Women and Children Protection Center, the PNP put up yan, yung Women and Children Protection Center. Counterpart po namin yan ang what do you call this, the anti-cybercrime group is also one of the group who conducts investigation with regards to this kind of cases.
Are there support groups?
actually, I
support system?
know of a support group. They are called the Living Waters.
Living Waters.
Living Waters.
Not familiar with that.
Yes, you can actually Google that because I've heard some people attend that Living Waters, not necessarily just for rape victims, but if you've had like if you were molested in the past, you can Google that. It's living waters.
It's a living water.
Yes,
Okay, I
living
will try to
waters.
find it also.
Kailangan niyo yun.
Yeah, I'm not familiar with
Makakatulong.
that. Thank you
May
for
help
that.
us.
Thank you very much for that.
Okay, before we go to a break, we have 4 minutes left before we go to a break. Nabanggit kanina, so diba, this is the anti-rape law, and then you have the VAWC, you said the Violence Against Women and Children. And the main differences between these two are can you enumerate them for us, please?
Actually, with violence against women and children, it covers all the violence that can be committed against a woman, a woman and her child by a person who has a dating relationship with that woman. They should be married or have a dating relationship, and it covers different types of abuse, from economic abuse, like failure to provide support. So it's a very broad law.
Economic abuse, failure to provide support, or
Yes, that's also part of the
or kapag
violence.
parang humihingi.
Psychological abuse.
Psychological.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yung economic abuse, pwede rin ba yung lalaki sa babae lang?
No.
Ay, hindi,
It's
no?
just for women.
For women only.
No, I mean the man is dependent on the woman and then abuses her. Ganun ba yun? Hindi kasama
Actually,
yan.
under the law, it's when the man deprives the woman of her resources or support, or prevents the woman from engaging in a certain profession or business. So it's covered by economic abuse under 9 to 16.
Okay. All right. We'll continue this discussion after the break. News.PH will be right back. Stay with us. Welcome back. You're still watching News.PH on the Solar News Channel. I'm Pia Hontiveros. Our guests, Major Elizabeth Hasmin, the Deputy Chief of the Women and Children Protection Division of the PNP CIDG, and Attorney Richie Ramos-Pilares of the Puno and Puno Law Firm. She specializes in family law. Okay. Di ba another myth or another excuse or dahilan that the perpetrators use is gawa-gawa lang niya yun, no? She's making it up. Maraming ganun, ano, Major?
Marami po na sinasabi nila na gawa-gawa lang. But actually, if a victim came to our office and then, sino ba yung magsasabi na ni-rape ka? Parang yun nga, kagaya po nang na-mention ni attorney na you will face the court, you will face the prosecution panel, or so you will state everything, what happened to you, you are raped. So it is very hard for a lady to say it
To
so,
make up
na,
something like that.
na ikaw ay na-rape, na naghahasa ka. Kasi hindi naman pwedeng mag-create ka ng story na ganun yung nangyari sa'yo. Kasi yun nga, yung defense lawyer, talagang sisirain yung credibility mo. So aside from yun nga, doing that, medyo it's very hard for individual or for the lady to say that na she was a victim of rape.
Is that the case, Attorney Richie? You don't know if anyone who would make up a story that she was raped?
Actually, the Supreme Court acknowledged that statement that she made, that a woman will not normally, or it's not normal for a woman to allege that she has been raped. But the Supreme Court has also issued certain guidelines, because the Supreme Court also acknowledged that making allegations about rape can be made with facility, or it's easy, and it's harder also for the offender to also prove his innocence. But the Supreme Court has really look at the credibility of the testimony of the victim. So
Now, what do you
because
mean?
usually in rape there's just the victim and the offender.
Right. It's not like you have witnesses.
Yes, it's
not
not
all the
like
time.
other crimes. Yes.
Oo.
So the Supreme Court also takes that into consideration, and usually it's the regional trial court judges who looks at the demeanor of the victim, because you can see it from the demeanor if the person is telling the truth, or so aside from the fact that it's not normal for a woman to allege that she has been raped because of, as you've mentioned, the stigma that goes with that. So,
A Supreme Court ruling like that, would that embolden or justify na all the more, di ba kanina sabi mo may character assassination na gagawin. Siyempre, that's part of their defense, di ba?
yes.
And if the woman will withstand something like that,
Yes.
then it proves her story.
Yes.
And you have seen cases like that?
I've witnessed trials, but I haven't handled cases like that. But I've seen it while waiting for my turn in court. I've seen certain trials on rape, and then that's how they do it. Because the woman, if you're really telling the truth, then you can answer the cross-examination questions with confidence. And
Okay. Major Hasmin, you have not yet come across a victim who had made up a story.
So far, wala pa naman
Wala
po.
pa.
Kasi pag umattend tayo ng hearing, syempre nandun tayo, naririnig natin kung ano yung statement given by the victim herself. So kagaya po ng nasabi ni attorney, yun nga, i-cross-examination ka at kung totoo naman yung sinabi mo, confident ka talaga na sabihin kung ano yung nangyari talaga. So never pa naman ako naka-experience with regards din sa mga allegation na hindi naman pala totoo.
Attorney Richie, have you come across a woman who has been proven to be lying, na made up the story?
actually,
No,
not yet.
not yet. Everybody has been telling the truth.
Yes.
So far.
Yeah. Meron bang, di ba minsan, a woman will cry rape or, and then, ay, hindi pala rape, attempted rape. Or baliktad, no? Attempted rape and then rape. Merong mga ganon, yung magbabago ng konti yung testimony. What does that mean kapag may ganon? Major.
Parang, kasi once na sinabi mong rape even a light penetration or a mere touch of yung maselang bahagi ng babae, a mere touch of, yun nga, yung sa lalaki, we consider that as rape.
Yes.
Right? Yeah. So, pag sinabi mong nag-file ka ng case, you lodge your complaint here in our office. So, anong case po yung i-file nyo? So, if you say na you are a victim of rape, so we will undergo medical examination or the genital examination for us to determine kung ano talaga yung nangyari sa'yo.
Yeah.
So, kung attempted naman, you will state everything in the complaint sheet that we're going to give you.
Oh, can you be very specific, very detailed, difference between rape and attempted rape?
Of course.
Don't just give us the legal, legal one. Sige, ano yung mga circumstances?
Siyempre, actually, mas masasagot siguro ni attorney. Pero yun nga, kagaya po ng nasabi ko, basically, pag sinabi mong ni-rape ka, meron talagang penetration. Or kung hindi man, yun nga.
Muntik na. Parang
Yeah,
ganun.
kasi kung attempted, yung dress mo, di ba, na-dress up ka na nasaktan ka niya ng konti. And then may force nga, may intimidation, tinakot ka na niya, or tinutukan ka niya, and then somebody came to help you. So, that considered as attempted rape. Yeah. So,
Swerte yung
sa akin-
ganon, kasi magiging testigo pa yung nakatulong.
Opo,
diba?
but actually, kagaya ng nasabi ni attorney, sa rape case naman kasi is no need for the witness. The only thing na kailangan talaga is yung perpetrator and yung na-rape, yung rape victim. But in that case nga, kagaya po yung na-mention nyo, kung attempted, merong somebody to help you para hindi matuloy yung plano.
Okay. Attorney Richie, yung rape and attempted rape.
So,
Tama yung sinabi niya.
yes, she's correct. The difference is, in attempted rape, there was no contact, or the carnal knowledge was not consummated because someone else intervened. The crime, all the elements were not there because of an external factor, not because of the offended party stopping himself. So
Okay. Do you have, Major, do you have like counselors in the women and children's desk?
Actually, sa ngayon po, wala pa
Wala
naman
pa.
tayo na i-provide na ganyan. So, ang tumatayong counselor na lang is yung kami na rin po mismo.
Kayo na rin.
Yeah.
Okay. Oo nga, you look like a counselor.
Sometimes.
Oo. Sana meron pa tayong extra budget for that, para mas
Siguro po itong plano ni GPNP, yung ating Code P 2030 and beyond, I think it is included. Kasama po yun dun sa kanyang project.
That's good. That's good. Okay. Can you profile a rapist? Do rapists fit a certain description? Because kanina, di ba, napag-usapan, the defense lawyer would say, my client could not do such a thing. Meron ganon, So parang merong, because he looks
Description.
upright and everything, he looks like he couldn't be a rapist. So, sorry, my first question, can you profile a rapist? Is there such a thing as somebody who will fit the description of a rapist? Meron bang ganon?
Parang wala naman
Wala,
kasi. Parang meron kasi tayo, di ba, yung sa, kung ma-remember ko pa, yung Lombroso, tinatawag natin sa criminology students na pinag-aaralan na yung shape ba ng muka for the criminals. But,
Okay.
di ba?
But
Pero,
a rapist is a
rapist, parang wala tayong ma-consider na profiling niya na ito
Talaga?
rapist kasi ganyan yung mukha niya. No eh. Anybody.
Oo.
Yeah, anyone can
Anybody.
commit
Pero
this.
teka muna, just to be clear about this. Ano yung shape of the face of a
Yeah,
criminal?
kasi meron tayong, ano ba yun, attorney, kung ma-remember mo, yung sa Lombroso.
Ano yung Lombroso?
Kasi sa sociologist namin, nung nag-aaral pa kasi ako, during my school time, yung sa criminology subjects, meron silang yun nga yung sinasabi nila, na pag ganito yung itsura mo, ito yung mga prospective criminals. So, parang
okay.
it's very unfair naman for those people na same face, di ba?
Oo,
So, parang medyo, ano na yun parang eliminated na yung ganong,
Oo.
Pero so far, wala tayong maibigay na itsura na ito, yung, wag kang lalapit dyan kasi yung itsura niyan rapist. No?
Yeah, okay.
There are some instances na ang pangit niya, pero di ba, ito pala yung tutulong sa'yo.
Or mukhang,
So we cannot
mukhang,
distinguish.
I don't use the word, no?
Sorry,
mukhang, never mind that other word, pero mukhang rapist, pero hindi naman pala, di ba? So
Yeah,
no
we
such
cannot
thing, no
distinguish,
such
yeah.
thing. And there are rapists or perpetrators who look very decent.
Yes.
May ganon.
White collar.
White collar,
Yeah.
oo. Hindi, pwede namang hindi
Sometimes.
white collar, pero decente pa rin,
Yes.
yun pala. Okay. So it's not like,
We cannot say talaga.
you cannot
kung
say.
sino yung-
Tama, attorney?
I agree.
Ay nako, ang hirap pala. Okay. What are the other actions, Major, that the PNP has taken to like minimize rape cases? Or at least attend to them when
Of
they are
course, we
reported?
always remind people, especially this kind of interview in the radio, or meron din kami pinopost over sa ating website na to avoid yung mga incidents na pwedeng mangyari. So may mga tips po tayo na ibinibigay.
Like,
So,
sige.
ayun nga, avoid people who you just met over the internet, and then yun nga, i-avoid natin yung sinasabi nating eyeball. And then, we always remind people na dun sa mga anak nila, to put a telephone number, yung pang-emergency ba, if in case na may nangyayari sa kanila, they can just press it, yung number na yun, and then lalabas yung number, they can call. So at least mas aware sila kung sino yung pwedeng pumunta sa kanila or mag-help sa kanila. And then we always remind yung 117, existing pa naman po yan, 2920, for those who
2920.
who are victimized ng mga ito nga yung nagsasagawa ng krimen, para at least ma-avoid natin yun. So, ibig sabihin, meron po kaming mga ibinibigay na information or yung tips. And even sa school, meron po tayong mga kasamahan sa police na nagkakandak ng parang information drive in yung mga schools or even sa barangay. So, yun po yung mga projects na ginagawa rin natin to, at least, to minimize itong mga cases na to. Nagbibigay tayo ng mga tips kung ano yung dapat ninyong gawin at saka ano yung hindi nyo rin dapat gawin. So, yun po yung mga reminders na ibinibigay natin at sinishare natin.
Okay. 117, you can dial that
Yeah,
on your
2920.
cell or landline,
Yeah.
or 2920.
Opo, existing po
Okay.
yan.
You do get rape complaints through those numbers? Merong mga...
Sometimes, may mga calls po na ganyan na nag-ask, pero mostly, nagla-lodge po talaga ng complaint sa office namin. Kasi we need to take yun, balik po tayo ron. We need to take the blatter and the statement.
oo.
Yeah.
Kapag may nagko-complain, tumatawag sa 117 or 2920, siyempre parang nagre-reklamo, humihingi ng saklolo, di ba? Pinibigay yung address.
Yes, of
Meron
course. And then, yun nga, inire-refer natin yun dun sa nearest police station para at least mas mabilis po yung responde dun sa tumatawag sa kanila. So, yun po yung action taken.
Okay. Can we, let's talk about what it's like for the rape victims as they go through the process, no? Siyempre, this is a very traumatic situation for them, right? What is it like, Attorney Richie, for those who have told you about what happened to them?
Actually, for most of them, if they don't file cases, it helps them cope in a certain way because
If they don't file a case?
I mean, in a certain way, because when you file a case, you have to relive everything again, like you have to say it again. But for some, I think it will also be good if you file a case, because at least you can avoid or you can prevent that person from committing the same mistake to another woman. I mean, if personally, my personal opinion is that Maybe for a while it will be convenient for you to suffer in silence, but you have to think of the other women that you can save if you file a case against the perpetrator or against the offender. So for me,
Is that the speech that you would give to those who
Yes.
refuse to file a case?
because I have a daughter, so when I think of these rapists and the fact that there are women who don't actually pursue cases and they don't file, that rapist can victimize my daughter or someone close to me. But if we put them behind bars, then let them suffer inside, and we can avoid more crimes. For me, that's one possible way to deter.
Okay. So,
further
but when you would try to convince those women to file a case, ano yung sagot sa'yo? What do they usually say?
I don't have that. I haven't had that experience to.
Okay. Or what
convince
have
them,
they told other people? Ano yung dahilan nila for not filing?
Because actually, when you file a case, it will involve time and effort. Because if you're going to school or if you have work, you have to take time off to attend preliminary investigation, attend hearings, meet with your counsels. And sometimes some women, they just don't want to relive that traumatic experience. So
Okay.
maybe that's what stops them.
Major, I'm sure ganun din yung mga linya mo sa mga
Yes,
nagre-reklamo,
of course, oo. To pursue the case talaga. Kasi nga kung hindi, ulit-ulitin yan ng perpetrator. Tama yung sinabi ni attorney, baka may ma-victimize pa na iba. 'Di ba? Kung hindi man yung malapit sa'yo, baka mamaya yung ibang tao
Yeah.
din. So, ma-victimize nito.
Oo.
So, it's better to file appropriate charges for the perpetrator so
Oo.
that hindi na ito maulit talaga.
Talaga bang hindi nauulit? Talaga bang hindi nauulit kapag nasasampahan ng kaso?
Hindi kasi ma'am, basically, pag final mo naman yung kaso, let's say hot pursuit operation, and then we arrested the perpetrator, and then we will put him behind bars. So, pag ikinulong mo naman yan, wala namang, I don't think so if there is bail recommended for this.
No bail,
Sa
diba?
rape case kasi no bail So, nandyan siya. So, until the time na makuha natin yung time for the hearing, court hearing, we'll just attend the hearing. Yun lang po yung time, yung chance para makalabas siya. So, kagaya po ng nabanggit niya, tama yun to pursue the case against this perpetrator para at least doon pa lang ma-stop na kung ito lang yung victim niya, tama na yun, di ba? We will put him in jail na lang siguro.
Pero meron ngang mga ayaw magsampa ng kaso, so nakakalusot.
Yes.
May mga reasons din siguro, kagaya ngayon, kahihiyan, unang-una kung kilala ka, di ba? Kilala ka sa pamilya, kahihiyan. And then tama yun yung time. Tapos kung mahirap ka naman, minsan ang reason nila is resources. Wala akong pambayad sa lawyer ko kasi, di ba, ang PAO medyo kaya natin pumunta sa PAO, pero syempre limited din po yung lawyer dyan. So we do understand that. So yan po yung mga factor kung bakit nahihinto sila or naaantala sila sa pag-file ng cases ng yung ganyang kaso nga po. Isa po yan sa mga dahilan.
Isa sa mga dahilan, sa marami pang ibang dahilan.
May mga reasons pa po behind that siguro, yeah.
Okay. Do you think if women were braver, that there would be more cases filed, right?
Yes, of course. Oo. Kung haharapin lang nila, ito yung nangyari sa akin, di ba? Kailangan talaga maging matapang ka to face this di ba? Case kasi nga pag nasa court ka na, it's very hard. Even ako po, matagal na ako sa service pero still pag naririnig ko yung statement nila, yung defense lawyer, yung what do you call that, yung kabilang abogado nila, pag tinanong, yung defense counsel nila, when the victim asks, talagang grabe. Worse talaga. So ikaw, kung estudyante ka ng ganitong school, parang, teka muna, kahihiyan to, di ba? Parang mabobroadcast yung nangyayari sa'yo. Tapos maraming nakikinig. Kasi this is crimes against person na, so marami na rin.
Actually, you can ask for the audience to be excluded if it's a
Sometimes,
sensitive case.
Pero
The
may mga
lawyer can
instances
ask.
kasi na talagang kasama rin dyan Yeah, so it's very hard for the victim na maglahad ng nangyari sa'yo.
Okay. Are there, because di ba merong cases, man on woman and then yung sexual assault by man or woman, have there been men who have either complained and or filed cases? And
Actually, on our part, we handle case of male rape. Yeah.
Ilan ba? Isa?
For the record, actually binigay naman namin yung statistic before. We handle 4 victims. Actually, tatlong kaso na na-file. Kasi yung isang case is dalawa yung victim niya, and then yung
Dalawa yung
sa-
victim?
Yeah. So,
Okay.
ang perpetrator dito is a gay.
Ah, okay.
So, we
okay.
handle cases against yan. Rape case, male rape.
Aha, okay.
Yeah.
Pero yung perpetrator babae, meron?
So far, wala po.
So far, wala?
Wala.
Okay, so what was that law for?
But under the law,
Yeah.
it provides for
Yeah,
that
kasi
all
parang
job.
Because
siya,
meron
diba?
talaga,
Yeah,
no?
accessory to the crime, parang ganyan.
No,
No,
because
yung talagang
it's
sila mismo
insertion
ang-
of an
Okay,
object, so it
okay.
can be done by both.
Aha, okay. But it's interesting because Major has been saying, at least in for her unit, wala
Yes.
silang na-handle. na
Ganong
ganun.
case, so far wala pa naman po.
Okay.
Yun lang yung
Yeah.
male rape.
Maybe
Oo.
because it has something to, because women, women as a general rule cannot overpower someone. I mean, of course there are very strong women, but
Yeah.
a few women will be able to overpower anyone. So rape is actually a power play or something. So
Okay. Let's get some final words. Attorney Richie, you first.
Of course, I would like to encourage the victims that I know it may be difficult to file a case because people may judge you, but if it really happened to you, then you can just consider it as it happened to you because you're a strong person and you can make a difference in the life of someone else if you will be bold enough to complain and pursue the case and make sure that the offender be punished for whatever he did.
Okay. And Major Asmin?
Yeah, kung ano man yung nasabi ni attorney, tama yun. So, i-pursue natin yung case natin. And then, some reminders for the female or for the lady who are our viewers. If possible, yan nga, do not let your child go out, especially during nighttime, to avoid this kind of incident, yung mga rape. And then yun nga, palagi natin inire-remind na, although this is old saying na avoid, yun nga, do not talk to strangers. Palagi nating ilagay sa isip natin yun, to avoid this kind of things. Yeah, so far yun lang naman po. And yun nga po, open po ang CIDG, 24 hours po, meron po tayong duty dyan, 7
Okay.
days a week, 24 hours. po
CIDG
tayo
in
dyan.
Camp Crame.
In Camp Crame, and yeah.
All nationwide,
yeah,
no?
nationwide naman
Oo.
po ang CIDG, ma'am.
Oo. So, in all the regions, in the provinces,
Yes, we
so
have.
lahat ng CIDG, all
Meron
over,
po tayo,
merong women's
meron
and
naman
children's
po tayo,
desk.
oo.
Okay.
We provided.
Okay, but yung CIDG sa Crame, where you are, do you have a number?
Yes, ma'am, I can give you it later, ma'am. Yeah,
Okay, but at
sorry.
least pwede 2920
Yes,
or
2920
117?
or yung 117, and then i-refer naman po sa WCPD ng Camp Crame, CIDG.
Okay. Thank you very much for joining us. Major
Thank
Hasmin,
you.
thank you, ma'am. And Attorney Pilares, thank you very much for joining us, ma'am. And thank you for watching. I'm Pia Hontiveros. This is News.PH. See you again next Wednesday. Good night.